Well,
Well,
hello.
there we go. Look at this. We're back again.
We're back again doing another thrilling episode. I'm Tara,
I'm Natalie.
and we are making a movie, and this is a podcast we're making about making a movie. There's a lot of making happening in our lives
There's
these
a lot of
days.
inception
A
happening
lot of
there.
so much inception, so much in process of the press. You've actually watched, if you've been watching us from the beginning, you've actually watched two people also figure out how to podcast. It's been a learning environment.
Yeah.
Before,
Encouraging, isn't it?
yeah, so encouraging. Before we get rolling, I want to point out that there are super chats. If you are live with us on YouTube, super chats is a chance, an opportunity to give us a little coin, some of your sweet hard-earned coin. We're going to use all of that super chat money to help us make turns out. Also, PayPal's. If you don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
it here, but you want to do it on Daddy PayPal, we're all about that too. We got a PayPal option.
Big
So,
Daddy PayPal.
Big Daddy PayPal.
No.
No, weird. So yeah, thank you in advance to everyone who sends us the funds, to everyone who's done it in the past already. We really that it makes it happen for us. Currently, we are
Mm-hmm.
submitting to film festivals for the scripts, film festivals and script competitions, and turns out there's a lot of money involved in that. So we are
Expensive.
grateful. It's
Yeah, it's
costly.
expensive.
It's actually better than I thought it was going to be, but also still, if you really think about it hard enough, it's like that's a lot of money to just
It
go
is.
read this.
Yeah.
All right, we are back with a brand new section. We are still in development, but we're in a
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
brand new section of development. This is
Yep.
the scariest section of development. I'm
Yes.
amazed that as many times as I said development, Natalie, you haven't like just melted.
No, keep going. So in this phase of development, no, last week we talked about just broad strokes on money and budgeting, and just the different phases of budgeting and all the breakdown of things that you are going to need to pay for when making a movie. I think that some of these things slip through the cracks for like people who aren't in film, and then also people who haven't actually made like been on that side of it. You go, oh, that's right, like location manager, that is a thing that I have to pay for. And this week we're going to take a look at like some of the ways you can get, we're starting to take a look at some of the ways you can get that funding. This week we're going to be talking about crowdfunding specifically. We've got an expert, as far as I'm concerned, on today.
Yeah, seriously.
Next week, we're going to be talking about finding investors. So stick around at the end. We'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, today we've got on our good friend Paula Rhodes. And
Hmm.
Tara, if you want to talk about like the different types of crowdfunding, I
Oh yeah.
guess, like, because people are using crowdfunding in all sorts of ways
It
now.
crowdfunding has become this amazing modern thing. You can crowdfund for anything.
Well, yeah.
And filmmakers jumped in on this pretty early on. I think it was a really wise move. So people are crowdfunding for different portions of the film these days now too. Like originally when it first started, we were like, just to make the movie.
Yeah.
Now you can do production, the development part of it. So production
Mm-hmm.
being like anything that's happening while you're actually filming the project. Like a lot of projects have been this that I've dealt with. Like this was
Mostly.
in the beginning of it, but now we're broadening that net of what you can use crowdfunding for, like development. I've seen people raising funds to pay the writers so that they can have the time off from work or whatever to
Mm-hmm.
have the time to write the project. Finishing funds. You finish the project, you can show maybe a tiny scene in your crowdfunding thing, and now you need the funds to pay the editor, the sound mixer, the colorist to
Mm-hmm.
finish off the project. Poster, just to do the artwork, to do the poster, like a mini
Right.
fundraiser, just to pay the artist to make the amazing artwork that you know you need for the marketing portion of the thing. Crowdfunding can really be a broad net to help cover a lot of different parts and elements
Right.
of your project.
I think it started out, this is, I don't don't have research on this, but I'm gonna
I
venture a
I
guess. Okay.
believe. I
So I
feel.
feel like we started out just doing like, okay, we're gonna make a movie, and so we'd be at the phase where we are now. We've written it, and we've got the people, some people on board. So development is often like that first stage of development is kind of behind you, and you started off with crowdfunding to like, this is written. We've got a team. Let's go.
Mhm.
Let's raise the money to just actually make the movie. And then I think the next thing that happened was people realized they raised the money to make the movie, but they didn't have the finishing funds or
You're
the
not
festival
wrong.
funds or whatever.
You're
And so
not
then people
wrong.
started to do it for
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
then
And
people are like, well, wait a minute. They just realize how expensive this giant thing gets, and you start to compartmentalize it. And you're like, I will
Mhm.
never even get to that point if I don't raise this funds to do development or,
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I
Well,
mean,
like to
that's
the
just
point
what
of.
that's
Yeah.
evolution of crowdfunding for you
Well,
guys
to the
there.
point of people who were like raising funds for the writing portion of it. Like, I don't know how I would have felt if I'd been like, hey, people give us money so we had time to
Pay
write our
me. Yeah.
script. Yeah, it would make me uncomfortable. But I do understand it. Like,
Hmm.
patrons of artists is a long stretching history. So, and paying someone so that they don't have to worry about, you know, keeping the lights on so they can turn their attention to making art happen is historically like has a long, long history. And honestly,
Absolutely.
like if you don't make the time somehow away from your day job to sit down and write that script, it may not get done. And I'm in this
Hmm.
situation right now where I'm in the rat race of doing a night job. I'm working so hard to like, get my money all right and get out of debt and stuff. And I'm finding myself like, when am I going to make time to sit down and go find producing jobs? But like
Right.
right now I'm stuck in that rat race and it's
Hmm.
so understandable. So like, broaden your mind
And
for
I
what you
think
can do.
Yeah, and I think that that is what happens to like 90% of people who move to LA is they move out
Mhm.
there with this idea of I'm going to act all the time. It's going to be amazing and I'm going to direct all the time, whatever it is, acting specifically. And then you realize you need to have a day job and you need to
Yep.
make way more money than you expected
So much
you
money.
thought you did. When you were
Yeah.
in Iowa, it was a lot easier to live. Like
Yes,
just in
yes.
general. Like but
Yeah, you had more free time.
yeah,
You spend all
yeah.
your free time trying to survive if you live in Los
Mhm.
Angeles. And God help you
Yeah.
if you have any amount of debt you're trying to get out of.
And
Like
you
you that
realize
winds up being.
you're 3 years deep and you haven't done a single thing except for wait
Yep.
tables and then you go home. But
Yep.
it's that breaking moment where you go, wait a minute, no, I'm going to figure out how to work this in.
Yeah.
And that was,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all get there. It was like, oh no,
Yeah,
no, I'm going to
I think
figure
so.
out how to work and do both. Yeah, yeah.
So it is
Anyway,
side PSA on this episode that has nothing to do with what's going on. If you're in your
nope,
third year in LA and you've only waited tables, it's okay.
it's okay. Yeah,
All right, so today we are talking to Paula Rhodes. Paula Rhodes, we've known Paula Rhodes for years now. Like I didn't
it's
really
been a
think about
minute.
the amount of time we've known her until we like pitched the idea of bringing her in and had to start working on the episode.
Hmm.
I first became aware of Paula like way back in the day. A popular internet thing that was going around was adapting books into vlog style content. It started with the Lizzie Bennett Diaries, I think was like the first big hit one. And
Hmm.
then a bunch of them started propping up and I jumped on that bandwagon so fast because I thought it was such a
That's your
fun.
jam.
Oh my God, I thought it was such a fun thing to do, especially the interactive nature of it where you're pretending like these people are real and they have an Instagram account. Like I
Hmm.
loved the transmedia-ness of it. Paula was in The New Adventures of Peter and Wendy. If you've never seen this show, go check it out. It's absolutely adorable and heartwarming. And I remember
She wasn't just in it,
watching.
she was Wendy.
Well, she was Wendy.
She
She
was
was in
Wendy.
it. She was a force behind it from what I
Yeah.
remember. But I
Yeah.
remember watching it and just being like so enamored of her and just like, oh my God, she's so good. This is such a great show. I love everything they're doing. I want this. And which is why I started making a show. So I challenged myself one year to make 3 different projects in a year, which was insane. And one of them was a project called Social Medium, and I was shooting the moon. I was like, I'm gonna make this happen. And one of my big pushes and gets was to see if I could get Paula to play the villain as like a
Hmm.
cross promotional. She's a fantastic actor. I know she could do it. It's not something I've seen her play yet before, so maybe it'd be fun for her thing. So like I, sheepishly and nervously reached out to her and like, I've got this
I didn't know
show.
this.
and we've got we're like, I'm working on getting funds, and I've made a couple of demo episodes, and so if you could like take a look at it. And she agreed, and I was like, I got Paula Rhodes on my show. I was
Oh my goodness.
so
You
excited.
so you met her in development.
I met her in development, and she was one of my casting gets,
Oh
one of the
wow.
stars I brought in to help
Mm-hmm.
with the funding part because we crowdfunded that. And one of the things I
Yeah.
knew is that if I could bring enough people who are on other shows of this kind,
Mm-hmm.
my ability to fundraise would increase. And so I did a crowdfunding push with this project, and it was a successful crowdfunding. Like, it wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't clear all the money, but we got darn close to getting the money that we needed. So that was my introduction to Paula, and Paula was the best. She was
Mm-hmm.
incredible, a professional, and she's been nothing but a force to pay attention to ever since, just making projects and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I adore Paula.
Yeah, and then Paula and I got to know each other a little bit better because then Paula had me submit to do because I did the costuming on Social Medium. That's
Mm-hmm.
that project, and then Paula had me come on for season 2 and do costuming for the New Adventures of Peter and Wendy. Um, and then we brought Paula in to be
That's
Princess
right.
Posy in Imaginary Friends, and she killed it.
Killed it.
Like
Killed
someone
it.
should help me get down, but I'll let it
But I'll
slide. I
just
think
do
it's
it
the line.
myself.
I'll do it myself. That's what it was.
I'll
Which
just,
we didn't write. There's always like the best lines in your
no.
thing or things you didn't write. It's something someone else improv.
Absolutely. You're like, gosh darn, you're funnier than I
Hate
am.
you. And then you know, we've just been friends and running into each other at festivals and in
Mm-hmm.
LA and blah blah blah. And then Paula was nice enough to let us use her house when we did Social
Yeah,
Anxiety.
that was
We
her
filmed at
home.
their house. They don't live there anymore. I'm sad. She's
I
in
know,
the
I
back. She's
like
in the
that
green room
place.
right now, probably. Little tears
Yeah, little
shed for
tear. That was a
that
great house.
house.
Yeah.
It was so wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then now we're just buddies. We haven't worked together. Although Paula doesn't know that she's in the back room. She can hear me. I've got something that I think
Oh,
your
that's
entire
right.
family should get cast in. So
Yes.
like I need the kids. I need the husband. I need it all. All
The
right, we'll
whole kit
talk.
and caboodle. Like, this is what you should know about people who you work with. Like, you never know how often they're talking about, like, you know who we should bring in for this project, but
Mm-hmm.
that project's currently sitting in a desk drawer because we're in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of doing 8 other things.
Yep, I
Yeah,
got one.
you never know. You never know. All
Mm-hmm.
right, I think we have gushed enough embarrassingly. I'm gonna go ahead and bring Paula in, and Paula can take the more professional perspective on herself.
Oh,
Hey,
I'm
Paula,
gonna
welcome.
unmute here. Hold on a
Unmute,
second.
yeah,
That's on
yeah.
me. That's on me. I did that to you. Okay, there we go.
Hi.
Welcome.
Oh my
Hi.
gosh. Now I just need to hire you two as like my heralds to
Your
come
your hype
before
your hype
I'm trying
I'm
women,
to run.
PR. I need
your PR
I need to
team.
learn how to play an instrument so that I can like prance behind you on a flute and like saying nice things about you.
To be fair for the audience who haven't seen me in person or these ladies in person, they are both tall and striking, and I am on the shorter end of that pool. So it would be quite the comedic lineup. Yes,
Yeah,
I like that.
you leading the way. This like petite,
Oh yeah.
delicate woman, and us tall in our heels.
Actual.
Oh yeah, on
Oh my
stilts
gosh.
Absolutely.
essentially.
Well, hi,
All right.
ladies. Thank you for having me on.
Hi.
Welcome.
Yes.
All
Do you
right.
want a little let's see, professional breakdown? I
Yes,
guess?
Yeah.
please and thank you.
Okay, let's see. I started off in Missouri, so we'll start ourselves in the Midwest there, and entered a pageant as a joke to amuse my friends at all 5 feet of me, and ended up winning that, and then taking that to the national pageant and winning. It was very surprising. I had like an old prom dress. It's fine, and I kind of parlayed that into interning for some of the judges, where I learned the business side of things in New York, and then started to realize like it wasn't the pipe dream that had seemed perhaps in the Midwest to make a living
Oh
doing this.
yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
moved out there, and then eventually, because I could not sing or dance, out to LA, where I actually started to get some traction. And I've done over, oh gosh, I think it was, last count was like 50 some odd commercials, and I do a lot of voiceover for everything from two of Barbie's sisters to some villains in the Resident Evil universe, and there's a little bit of a range there, I suppose. And then because I'm not patient, I had started probably in the early 2010s or so to produce things and create my own content rather than wait for the phone to ring. And so it wasn't until the amazing America Young finally was like, just make a director's reel. that I realized I had actually already directed enough things to do so. So yay,
Yeah.
ladies, lifting others up. And I ended up directing my first feature film over the course of my actual pregnancy. That got into, it premiered at Dances with Films and won the audience choice there and got global distribution.
Mhm.
Learning curves when you get there, I can
Oh
help you out.
gosh. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
That was
yeah, and
Delicate
then
State. Delicate
it,
State was the name of that one? Okay.
it is Delicate State. You can see it
Mhm.
everywhere. It's streaming on all the things now.
I was just helping you
And
plug there.
yeah, I've of course of Peter and Wendy and various other things. I just I seem to not like free time, I
Mhm.
guess is what it comes down to. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
I love the magic of storytelling and the power it has to potentially change hearts that then change minds. Right? I think that that is really what draws me to it
Mhm.
when I get to have any say in what I'm making. So yeah, it's fun. There's no
I,
security in it whatsoever, but gosh, it's fun. So here I am,
no
continuing
security.
on this journey.
I love it.
Oh,
I love
so
it. And I like
fun.
how now anyone who's watching this live or who's seeing the visuals on this, now you will recognize Paula's face on your commercials all the time. Every once in a while, it'll just
Oh
pop up. And the
yeah.
same thing, those of you who are just listening will now recognize Paula's voice all the time. It's just, it's
Yup.
so fun to just, it's fun to know
Squirrel
Paula.
sound familiar?
Yeah. It's so fun. I love whenever Paula pops up on my TV in a commercial. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
I know her. Yeah,
Hmm.
you're gonna see her at the universe is now gonna pop her up
You
on your
guys, I'm
TV
laughing
screen.
because of what I just shot. You won't recognize me at all. It's
Oh
fine.
no! Oh my
Yeah.
I'm a
gosh.
zombie. It's great. I'm in that era.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing. Are you NDA'd on that
Perfect.
one?
I'm
NDA?
undead what it is
Okay.
for now, but
Okay.
it's not a glamorous
Oh,
shoot.
I'm gonna
It's not
come back and
glamorous
tag
zombie.
the second we
Comedy
find
though.
out what it is. I'm coming back here and putting it in the. I'm gonna put it in the comment section the second
Mm,
I find out
There's
what it is.
comedy.
Once it's released.
excellent.
Yeah. So
Excellent.
over the course of all of this stuff, like
Mhm.
in the mix, you've done several. You've either spearhead, been a part of, been attached to a lot of crowdfunding campaigns. Like I know Peter and Wendy did theirs. You were
All
part
4
of my
seasons.
social media. Like you
Yeah.
came and helped out and gave your voice and your push on our project, social medium. You did a crowdfunding for Burn, correctly? Like your
We
most
did
recent
for
short
the
film.
for Burned for
Yeah,
the post production on Delicate State, although we did
Delicate
win some
State.
grants for that too.
Yeah, and we've been a part of
Um,
a lot of ones that haven't gone so
so
great.
yeah,
Like
every
they're in
now
the
and then
mix.
they don't
Yeah,
hit, but
yeah,
most of them, I think all but like 2
mostly.
have.
Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
experience on what works and what really, really works and what barely by the skin of our teeth works.
yeah.
And
Mm.
what I do love about crowdfunding, I mean, there's a lot to not love, to be honest. It's a lot of work.
It's
Yeah,
it's a
It is
job. It's a lot of work.
it's a
Yeah.
job.
producing a
It's a
full-time
full thing.
reality show essentially for a month. But
Mhm.
it is the most democratic way to create art, right? You get people invested, you find out what the audience really wants kind of ahead of time.
Mm,
Mm.
In that sense, there's real beauty to it.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't
yeah,
know.
and
I'm not against that. Some people are very against crowdfunding, and I think mostly it's just a knee-jerk reaction to remembering how much
Asking
work it
for money.
was
how
and
hard
how
it is. Yeah,
asking and yeah.
Yeah,
But and then you also go, but where else are you going to get the money? Like is
right.
what I
right.
always go. I'm like, yeah, I also wait tables and I don't necessarily want to
Yeah,
do it, but
yeah.
how else am I going to pay my rent? You know?
I
It's
definitely
nice to not.
have that knee jerk. I don't want to do it thing because it's
Yeah,
just
Mhm.
it is
it's
so
hard.
much work. But you're right. The amount of effort and energy put in for the return that you can get on the effort and time you put for the potential what you could earn is actually really good. And it also is a marketing piece for your project at the end
It's
of the
audience
day.
building.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's beginning that audience building. So it's although I always tell people don't go into it lightly, take it very seriously, and do this when you're absolutely emotionally ready because it is
Sure.
going to drain you for 30 days.
All the pre-pro will
Yeah.
help with that, but yes.
Mhm.
But it is worth doing. It is worth doing if you're fully prepared and you have your expectations in alignment with reality.
And what really changed it for me as a tool was realizing it wasn't asking people for money, it was offering them a service, a good. So it's giving them a benefit, right?
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
chance to get this benefit. When I changed the mindset on that and I realized what benefits I could offer them, whether
Mhm.
that's the glory of helping to make something, the community of coming together, the being able to weigh in and have a say in some stuff, to tell a tale that they also thought was important, whatever it might be. When you realize that you're offering them something too, you're not just coming,
Mhm.
hat in
Mhm.
hand. It changed the
I can see
feeling
that.
as well as the
Yeah.
energy behind it.
That would
Yeah.
help for me too, because and I don't know that I could wrap my head around that change, but I still
It's
would
hard.
always feel
Yeah.
like I'm asking.
Yeah, it's challenging. It's hard to see art as being something that other people want to be a part of but aren't doing it for themselves. Like Natalie,
Mhm.
you and I did a show where we were trying things for the first time and people would send us the item to try the thing and they're like, "Well, why won't they just do it for themselves and try it for themselves?" Like because they're getting more joy out of watching us do it stupidly than
Mhm.
doing it
Yeah.
themselves. For some
Out of
people
fear.
like they get joy. Like I will give money
Weighing.
to other artists and buy their things, not because I actually want my house is full of stuff, not because I want the thing, but I want them to keep making the thing. And I think that
Unless you're
we don't
someone
give
that
credit
Tara
for
has
that.
bought from in the past, she wanted the
No,
thing. She really
I did
did.
want the thing. I wanted it so bad. I really, really, but I do
She
this
loves
all the
it.
time. I will go and like, well, you and I will go to farmers markets and
Mhm.
like,
Oh, art fairs get me.
or whatever, and I just want you to keep doing this. Like, I want
Mhm.
this thing, I do, but most importantly, I want you to keep doing it. I think
You
that's
want
really
it to
And
important.
other
exist.
people will feel that about you
Mhm.
and do feel
Mhm.
that about you. You ladies have
Yeah.
already built a community over the years of this,
We
and it
love
will
them.
continue to grow,
Yeah.
especially if you're tapping into an audience that kind of already exists, be that a genre
Mhm.
or a topic or something or
Mhm.
an area, whatever it is, or a fandom. If it's somebody, we stunt cast, we just do, because it works.
Mhm.
You're going to continue to grow this, and people like to come along for the ride. So it's yeah, do a little gear shift of like, I'm not begging for money, I'm offering a service or a good, and people
Mhm.
are going to want it, and that's what you're going to give them.
I like that.
Yeah. So at
That'll be
some
the big
point,
takeaway from this episode.
that's the part that I'm going to
Jalen
pull out
moment.
as a clip.
That's it. That's it. Done. Close it.
Done. Done. Close this. Close your laptops, everybody.
But there's so many options too that you're going to be
Yeah.
able. But there's so many different sites, and honestly, it doesn't really matter which one
Yeah.
you go
Mhm.
on. There are some that might fit your project better than others. But there's options. Everybody's kind of familiar with how it works. But there's some really cool,
Mhm.
exciting ones out there too, that let you straddle kind of various options for funding when it comes to creative arts and filmmaking.
Mhm.
So you aren't married to just one version. What crowdfunding is, it can kind of give you that seed money that makes you be taken legitimately when you're going into investors. It can also
Oh yeah.
get kind of your early
Oh, yeah.
adopters on board, because it
Mhm.
sounds so much more legitimate to be like, hey, we've already raised 50,000 for this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And would you like to come on to match that? Or if you
Mhm.
have a nonprofit you've teamed up with and can do something called fiscal sponsorship,
Mhm.
then the people that are donating later can get tax write-offs for their donation, which is another sell. It's a different audience you're reaching to with that, right? It's maybe not your high school friends that are, barely scraping by. It might be more like your networking circles, but
Mhm.
it's a really cool opportunity. And
Yeah.
there's grants. I mean, there's contests, as you're well aware. You're finding those.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a whole wide world of how we all puzzle it together with those and
Mhm.
tax write-up, tax breaks for the film itself.
Yeah. There's so
That's
much.
what I do think people are doing much more of a piecemeal approach. Like it's like I'm doing this
Absolutely.
over
Every
here.
time.
I'm
Yeah.
crowdfunding this. I'm getting this from my uncle. I I don't
And the
have an
beautiful
uncle
thing
who's going to
about
give me money.
crowdfunding is that that's going to be yours. It is the same essentially
Yeah.
as if it were your funds, right? From your
Mhm.
pocket. It is your pocket eventually. So you have a lot more artistic say
Mhm.
over
Mhm.
what you do with those, and you're not
Yeah.
like beholden to somebody else or having to give them various cuts back or otherwise.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's nice in the freedom it can offer
Yeah.
Well,
on the back end.
what would you say is the biggest drawback then of doing crowdfunding?
Uh, the
Is it
biggest
just the
drawback
work?
probably is people that don't plan ahead of time,
Mm.
because you're going to want to line up all your dominoes way before you launch. Okay, this is going to the easy, like to not pull your hair out, to make this an easy kind of fun experience. You have it all lined up. Each week you're going to have a new announcement, maybe a new cast member. You're going to have a new perk come out. New
Mm.
has to keep happening. Press you already have to kind of have lined up, so you know when it's going to bump, because every time you get a little press thing, you're going to get a little spike
Yeah.
there. You have to get your 1/3 or whatever it is the first 2-3 days. So you kind of already know where that third is coming from, because you've reached out with your emails and your otherwise, to be like, hey, can I really count on you guys for $20? And you're getting people to kind of commit ahead of time.
Yeah.
It's like being a lawyer in a way. Like, you're not going to ask a question you don't already know the answer to as a prosecutor. So
Mm.
you're setting up yourself for success. So everything, for the most part, is going to be lined up so that you can just tap that first domino when you launch, and the press is going to be launching that same day, and it's just going to do so that it's beautiful and celebratory, and it's kind of just fun to watch. Ideally,
And everything works.
everything
works out
works.
perfectly.
It kind of can
It
in the
can.
weirdest, most wonderful way. Once it starts to get momentum,
Mhm.
it starts to kind of grow organically.
Right.
It's that building the steps on how to get there ahead of time, as opposed to just like jumping off the cliff and hoping you land okay.
I think
Mhm.
that's
too
the
many people do
biggest.
that.
Yeah, I think that's the ones you can tell when they're just diving in. They're like, I'm just going to raise the money on. And
Yeah.
you're like, you've never done a crowdfunding campaign. You do not understand how
Best
much
of
work it is. They do not understand that
No.
that 20%. Having that 20% when you start already,
Oh
like
gosh, yeah.
what is it like?
The psychology of
90% of
that.
campaigns that don't have it fail.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
it is something. I mean, that's a number I just pulled out of my behind.
No.
But there,
No, it's
it's
pretty
it's
accurate.
similar. It's pretty accurate.
It's
Yeah.
pretty accurate. Yeah, like if you having that first 20% from day one has this magical psychological effect of backing a winner. And if
Mhm.
Yeah.
you don't have that lined up, your potential of success is like down to 20%
Yeah, it's
because
something
it
ridiculous.
just is.
Not
Yeah.
insurmountable, but yes,
Not
Nope.
insurmountable.
it makes it a tough climb, right? So if you
But
have
my
ahead of time
goodness.
your best friends, your parents to like,
Mhm.
Mom, day 2, I need you to put this 500 in, okay, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
have it kind of planned out to hedge
Yeah, I
your
think
bets.
with ours we had a pre-launch. Like we pre-launched
Uh-huh.
when
We
we did
did. 3
Imaginary
days.
Friends, we knew we needed that. We had 3 days where we were just reaching out to those people that had already like
Mhm.
shh. And
Yeah.
then before we like let anybody know about it, we already had our 20%. It's
Yeah.
'cause- And
So smart.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did a sneaky way. So it was like
And it's a chance to like share your vision a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like your color scheme, your
you
look.
test it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
To like put it
Yeah.
out there and see what flies. I mean, don't see what flies, but make sure it's all coordinated. You can see that you are somebody who has thought about this and put a lot of research into
Mhm.
it and a lot of heart into it, which
Mhm.
you guys definitely are. Like you always do. You're always going to do this. I have no doubts about that. And quite frankly, women tend to do this pretty well.
We're good
But
planners.
it's it's an opportunity. Start looking at it as
Yeah.
an opportunity that you're offering
Hmm.
people, and it really will shift the energy. It's crazy.
Yeah. We're kind of in this place right now where we're working on the very first budget. Like
Mhm.
it's for us, we've never dealt with a budget this big before. And so like it's potentially a lot of money.
Are you sharing the range
We'll probably today. We don't know
or
what it is.
ever?
We're,
Okay.
we're right. Yeah. At some point we
We're
will. But
yeah,
like we're doing like
definitely.
big, medium, small ranges of budgets.
Sure.
We're building all those budgets. When you were putting your budgets together, like how detailed did you get before you entered the crowdfunding process? Like did you go, okay, I know exactly how many
Did you have
days,
mhm.
yeah, how
Was it
many
line
days,
items
how much
already
people,
or
yeah.
or was it just broad strokes of like we're going to need about X for
Yeah.
crafting?
It varies per project.
Okay.
And I should preface that by saying that I am extremely A-type when it comes to that. So there were definitely spreadsheets.
Oh yes,
Which I think some of you also appreciate a good organizational
Oh yes, love a
spreadsheet.
spreadsheet.
So for Delicate State, it was more of a challenge because we were shooting over the course of an entire pregnancy. It was my husband and I were the entire crew, production crew wise, as well as the majority of the cast. We had a few people pop in.
Mhm.
So in that sense, I kind of had to keep it loose and flexible. And also we were just self-funding that up until the VFX at the end, the post-production. So that was a lot more. I mean, even the script wasn't a script, it was an outline.
Mhm.
That was like sticky notes on my board that I kept having to move around as pregnancy stuff changes or the state of the nation changed. And we
Yeah.
were going to try to go film something from that. For Burned, it was very, very plotted out ahead of time. I knew exactly how much I needed to squeeze by. I knew how much it would give us some breathing room, and I knew where we could really make it shine on your different tiers of budgeting. And things change a lot. Like even just like the going rate for a sound person for each day, you have to check in again with your team or your circles and find out where that is currently, where maybe you could get a favor versus where you're going to need it to be.
Mhm.
And since you guys have been to so many festivals, you're aware of what really makes things shine. And as sucky as it is, I wish we could all say it's story. It's so fucking not story. Sorry, you'll have to bleep that out.
You're fine.
No, you're fine.
Bless, wouldn't it be great? But no, it's if I had to be honest, it's number one what it looks like.
Mhm.
Is your camera and your cinematography and your DP just freaking win all the lizard brains over, right? It's got to be
Mhm.
beautiful first. Second, you probably have to have a name or somebody with some sort of recognition that gets the festivals to watch it or read the whole thing or whatever before they care. For the
Yeah.
audience to show up in the seats to like it and then fall in love. You get those, and then you can get into story or your hit hook or your gimmick or whatever it is. The things that can kind of overshine those sometimes are maybe genre. If you're like if it's bleeding or if it's Christmas, probably those might.
It's bleeding or Christmas.
Those are pretty much the ones that might trump some of those
Or
a little
if
bit.
Gremlins, and then it's both.
Right?
It's
That
both.
is my Halloween decorations or gremlins all over our house.
Oh,
We
fun.
can like leave it up. It's so those are kind of where you're really going to want to, especially in indie world, front load your funds, right? We also know that marketing is something that so many indie people leave out or forget and don't budget for, and it's hella important. But again, you can also get to that bridge when you get there if you need to, and crowdfund again or get investors at that point once you have real, something to show for it.
So I guess that kind of,
stress there.
I was to say that kind of like leads into the next question that is like, how does deciding that you're going to crowdfund a campaign, like, how does that change your budget? I know we talked about tiers a little bit there, where it's like you have your, I can make it for this. Then there's this would be, this is ideal. And then this is shooting the moon. I get to do everything that I've ever wanted. But then when it comes to like, if you're like, okay, I think Tara and I did this when we were doing Imaginary Friends, we got to a point where we're like, we can't ask for that. And we're not going to get that. We want to make it more realistic. We will talk about festival money later. Like festival money is always the one that we immediately take off of the budget. We're like, we'll get that $5,000 someplace else. Yeah.
And honestly, yes, I think that's smart because you can build your audience as you're doing along your journey. You can get them interested in your set decoration, your posters, your whatever it is, something small that you can then sell later or offer later for that extra, leg of the race, as it were. So budgeting. So you're asking.
So when you start your campaign, how often do you end up scaling back and going, I'm not going to ask for that much because that's insurmountable to an audience?
What I think is really important is being realistic, but also being a little optimistic, just a dash. So wherever you feel like, but then just go one step above.
Okay.
Because most likely, if it's really solid and you really believe in it, that passion is going to help get you there. And also, if there's a built-in audience, if it is sort of a genre thing that already has people that are kind of easy to plug into, it's an easier lift. I will say I do a lot of research ahead of time to see what similar projects of a similar length, a similar, indie level of the people I have involved, goals, maybe what their range has been, what they were able to raise. And then I can kind of see what's realistic at that point in time, because it is honestly always changing. Whatever the economy's doing, whatever, anything can affect this. Right now, gosh darn it, poor state of our industry, people really want to work and they want to create. And there are so many amazing professionals that are like, it's fine, I'll just do it for cheap. It's cool. Or even free. Like, we just want to make something because it has been so downshifted for so long at this point. We're starting to see little trickles of it coming back. But in the meantime, it's not the worst time to get people below their scale.
Well, and you know what, and I hadn't thought about that, but that's a good selling point for, well, you're talking about you're offering a service. Hey, do you want to help support the industry that is struggling right now? We can pay people to come and work, but we can't, out of our own pockets. Do you want to contribute to my thing so I can make a film so that our friends work, so that we work? Like, instead of waiting.
Sometimes
for someone else to do
altruism
it.
really is the way to go to a certain kicked my table, a certain contingent of the audience, right? Other times they're going to go a little more in other audiences, selfishly oriented, but it's, because we're humans. So in those sense, you might want to offer glory. I hate campaigns that offer like, goods, because we've been on the end of that where it's like, it's sucky to have to mail all those t-shirts or mugs or whatever it is. Don't do mugs. They break. They're expensive and heavy. But things are tough to get out later. It is an entire extra job after the fact. Make it glory. Make it being a part of the community. Give it your credits, obviously. Turns out, I preface this a little bit ahead of time to you guys, but I have found out the hard way over the course of many years that now certain unions, you're going to want to not offer a producer credit or even, co-producer or anything like that. because the Producers Guild does not like. So
Right.
you're gonna, and if they're not physically doing producer work, don't give it. Also, it keeps your producer credit, meaning more. But you can offer consulting. Consulting is a great one to offer.
Ooh.
You can
Okay.
offer a credit that you rename. For Burned, I called The Witches That Burned Back. And that's a whole section of our credits. And that really tapped into the witch community and those
Oh,
who wanted
yeah.
a little justice after years of being persecuted
Oh,
or
Yeah.
burned
yeah.
alive
I could see that working.
to
Yeah.
come in, right? So in that sense, you can do those. You also can offer glory in the form of a lot of people would love to do what we do. They would love to make films. They would love to be in films. And that is not the worst thing to offer them. It's just you have to be careful because, again, other unions will be sad if you are offering people roles.
Roles for
If you're
money,
not working
basically,
with a
then.
union,
Yeah.
that is probably not as much a big deal. You could offer a role. They could buy a walk-on or a line or whatever it is. Look, you can direct anybody to say a line well. But you could do other things where if you're not able to offer that, you can have somebody where they get to pick the outfit for the character. You could have something where they get to name a character. Something where they're suddenly invested and they get a say in helping to craft and create because creating is fun.
We can name the cat after someone. That's the
Giving,
only thing.
giving away the right to name the cat.
Yeah.
I mean, be okay with Mr. Fluff and stuff, but
That's fine.
Yeah.
yeah, right? Like that's fun. That is a
Yeah.
fun thing to get.
But that's being a part of the creative process. And for people who like, they love the creative process, but they don't feel that themselves as an inherently creative person. They just want to be a part of it in some way and like giving them the opportunity to like be a part of the process, but not take on a whole project themselves because they're busy living a life or doing whatever. Yeah. And that's really a good idea.
If it's something where like you have posters in the background, you could feature somebody's image in that. You could buy a chance to be in the film, in the poster in the background, or as the spokesperson for the fast food restaurant or whatever it is. Like you could do those as still images. There are options. And giving people
Just
a
get
chance
creative.
to be give them a chance to be in this world is really cool. And they see that as a value. I will say those go really quickly.
Yeah, I bet.
Every time you put them up,
I
you'll
bet.
announce it ahead of time and people will jump on and buy those. And then you're like, dang it, I wish I could have done 5 more.
Could
Yeah.
I have 5 more cats?
Right?
5 more
Suddenly your
cats.
movie is just cats.
Just cats.
This may be like a self-obvious question, but as opposed to like going and finding like a single investor, like why did you go with crowdfunding when you chose to do so? What was the motivating force behind that?
I didn't know any people with that much single person with that much disposable income, and also I didn't want to be beholden to somebody who you would be if they give you that big a chunk. At that point, this was my baby. There are definitely projects where I'm like, cool, take it, it's yours, give me the cash.
Right.
And other ones where it's your baby, right? And it sounds like this is probably your baby. That doesn't mean you can't get investors. You could team up with a nonprofit and do the fiscal sponsorship and get, a couple $1,000 donors, $10,000 donors, and they can use that as a tax write-off, in which case you're not necessarily beholden to them. You're being very upfront with what they get from the start and still getting to creatively steer your project or not go into debt after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for my projects, I knew I needed to just be able to ensure ahead of time that I had the funds, had full control over the funds to release those upon when I needed them to be released, and to have that creative oversight. So for me, for the projects that I've done with crowdfunding, it's really made the most sense. And I knew I needed to build an audience through that process that would be invested. But I do think combinations are really the way to go, because I did get some investors that would just come on after the fact. I did win some little grants and awards and things that I offered either goods in kind via, here's a color correctionist or something, or composing or whatever it might be for different projects. But there are some really wonderful places that offer just finishing funds, especially to female filmmakers. They are competitive AF, and they are really feeling the pinch right now because a lot of that funding just got clawed back.
Oh, yeah.
But they're still out there. So, and they will support you after the fact as your film journeys along if you support them too. So there is a large community outside of just an audience that you can tap into when it comes to funding.
Well, I love this idea of you don't have to be all crowdfunded or all investor. Like you can piecemeal it all together and make it happen. Because my brain gets real compartmentalized to go crowdfunding. It's the only way you're going to get money is just do this crowdfunding. Like I think it's because I live in that, 2015 world of crowdfunding of like, this is how we're making the project. But you can
It's great.
pull from different places. It doesn't have to just be crowdfunding. You could turn to crowdfunding for a portion or
Right.
a push or a start or whatever, or even just do the crowdfunding because you want it for your marketing piece.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I just
Right.
a little bit of cash, a little bit of
And
marketing.
I mean, that even just gives, and some of it's going to be brainstorming as you go to fit your project, right? Like that reminded me, you could even, if you're filming out of state, which sounds like you might be out of California, there are
Mhm.
places you could just team up with a brand that might fit. Do
Mhm.
the old fashioned, E.T. and Reese's Pieces. Sort of find something
Yeah.
that fits in your story. See if they
Mhm.
would be down to offer.
Yeah.
Do a reasonable amount. The company, if the company is going to not even blink at $1,000, ask for $1,000. If they're not going to blink at 10, ask for 10.
Yeah.
It brought to you by sort of Credit Way or old school soap opera.
We've got a whole doc full of that because ours is a
Yeah.
very like specific world that is the prepper community. So there are a lot of untapped,
Yes.
products out there that I
Mhm,
think
mhm.
it's like, hey, do you want to? Hey, Life Straw. I'm gonna like name a
Life
name
Straw.
right now. Hey, Life
You're watching
Straw.
this.
Do you
Life Straw.
do you want to
It's
come on board?
I got a
not the
proposal for
worst.
you. Yeah.
And when you're building your marketing on the other end, there's opportunities that you can tap into with that too. Like, did you know
Mhm.
that NPR stations across the country, you can buy a shout out on those, like a 10-second, 30-second, whatever shout out that the hosts read and give the whole log line of your film, check it out in this festival. And that is a tax write off for you because you're
Oh,
donating
wow.
to NPR.
Writing that down.
Writing
Hold on.
notes here.
Shout
Those are
Tara and
powerful.
I.
And you're helping public radio, which is only
Yeah.
funded not by corporations, but by people. So,
Mhm.
yeah, there's my
That is a
journalism
great
degree of
idea
happiness.
because, like,
I love
going
it.
to festivals and like wanting to market your thing as you're going, like, that's a really good
Oh,
use
I
of your
called all those
dollars.
Iowa radio stations.
I
Sadly,
know
they're
you
not based
did.
in Dubuque, but yeah.
I know you did.
Mm, yeah.
I know. I really should just call you. Like, are you going to this film festival? Hey, what are you doing for your marketing? Next time you and I are going to the same place. Oh my gosh, so funny. So this is my favorite question right now. Is there anything that you learned on those previous projects, especially the features, that you're going to bring on to the next feature project that you make? Anything you learned that you're like, I'm rolling that info
much.
forward?
Yeah, I mean, some of it I shared. I from now on and forever will always put a lot more weight on just the camera and the DP than I ever had before. Because if that is not just jaw-droppingly gorgeous, and your director and DP have to get along, if it's not you as the director, if you are the director, make sure you're always having oversight on who the DP is. That is a bad combo to just get stuck with someone.
Yeah.
Or pick someone because their stuff, everything in the reel is just phenomenal. There's no way to spruce that up if it isn't. And then I would say, yeah, feature-wise, and you guys are probably on top of this already because your brains are similar on the A side there. Deliverables. Assemble your deliverables as you go because it is a beast to find it afterwards, especially if you're just on your own. And assemble those, which means for those who maybe were like, let me Google that real quick, like I did at the time.
Yeah.
It's going to be everything from every single release you have from all of the actors and the crew. Make sure you get all your crew to sign releases. Are already digitized and labeled and in a folder that you can just hand over. Make sure all of your insurance documents are there. Everything is ready to go. You have your 100 stills already pulled and labeled. There's a bajillion things. I can give you the list if you like.
I have a file.
It's fine.
Yeah. I have a preset file
That'd
that I
be very
just copy
helpful.
paste for distribution. Like, I did it once. I'm like, I'm never doing this again.
You don't want to find that out in the we need this
Yeah.
by next week timeline again.
Oh my goodness.
But like I said, learning curve, you're going to learn on every film, right? I think you probably already do this, but basically being a producer, being in some cases a producer director, whatever it might be, you're kind of the parent of the set, right? So anytime you are going to take care of your cast and your crew as a good parent, they're going to give back to you in the best possible way. They don't mind going a little bit over if you're making sure that they got awesome food and they're in the shade and they're not in the sun. Like just take care of them, which I know you guys do, but not everybody does. You're going to end up with a better experience overall for everyone.
Yeah, you can't,
Yeah.
if you're going to end up having to, because inevitably there's going to be a day that goes long. Inevitably things are
Yes.
going to go wrong at some point in time.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, and not because of this is the reason to take care of them. The reason to take care of them is because you're a good person and that's the right thing
They're
to do.
humans.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
but it's always easier to ask for a favor at that point in time if they have been on a nice set where no one's yelling
Right.
and
Right.
everything else is being taken care of.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
may be hard to remember in the stressful moments of making something this big happen, but
Mhm.
continuing with thinking ahead of people's comfort and well-being and human kindness
Mhm.
will go so far. Not only because it's just
So far.
it's going to make you feel like a better person in the long run of life, but also it will help you in the long run of like, hey, we got to go over by 2 hours. Are you cool with that?
You know,
Cool.
Right.
I just had a director ask me, ask me about like my best and worst experiences on set. And I had a recent really great experience, so I had one like in my pocket. And then I was like, I can't think of a bad one. And I don't and I as I was I'm like, no, that's the thing is I'm sure there were.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just have blocked them out is what I think has happened because I
Good.
just
Oh,
did
that's
not
amazing.
retain them because I couldn't
Good.
I was
I
like,
hold
I don't
grudges, so I
really
have them all on a
I'm
board.
sh-
No, I'm kidding.
Well, I had one. The one I pulled out
Noted,
was actually
Paula.
from, yeah, the one I was able to finally come up with was part of a different story. And it was like a director and I not getting along, but it was from college and it was a play. And it was
Okay.
just like, I was like, and it was me talking about why it's easier to sign on to a film than it is to sign on to doing a play because it's just so much less of your time. And if you're having a bad experience with someone, it's over tomorrow,
Yeah.
as opposed to when it's a play and now you're stuck with these people for another 3 months and you don't get along now. So
Yeah, that's very true. I'm sure if I'm thinking about it, one experience really stands out, and then I'm sure I have other stories along the way. I bet it's like the worst things stick, and then the rest all just kind of falls away. Like,
Yeah.
it's a tough day. Whatever. We hit
Yeah.
golden time. Whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, it's like
fine.
childbirth. You apparently just forget the worst parts because we keep doing it.
'Cause you keep having
As
more
a-
of
as a
them.
race,
Yeah,
but
there you go.
it's fine. We keep making these film babies.
I think speaking
It's
of
a
babies,
survival instinct.
making babies. I think we have a little bit of time here. I would love to talk to you a little bit about moving into directing. Like,
Mhm.
was that like just you found yourself doing it because you had to, or you like felt this pull to start like shaping the art in that way?
It's a great question. No, I did it usually because I didn't have the funds to pay somebody else to do it. And I'd written
Mhm.
it and I kind of knew what I needed to look like. So a lot of times I was doing co directing with somebody I'd created it with and not even really clocking that I was directing. So it really did take America at one point, America Young, again, an amazing woman who's gone from actor to stunt coordinator to director. She's done over 24 episodes of TV now, multiple feature films. She's just an amazing human. She also did the is one of the founders of the Chimera Project, which if you're a female creator, definitely find the Chimera Project on the socials. Follow them. They offer some fishing funds for women. They also really are a wonderful supportive community in that sense. But she was the one that was like, you should cut a director's reel. And I was like, I haven't directed any. Oh, I guess I have. Before I literally was like, huh, okay. And sometimes it really just does take other people, perhaps other women, to recognize that in you and say, you already are doing this.
Mhm.
Go do it. You have permission. You already took permission. You didn't need someone else's to do this. And it was so empowering and so wonderful to realize, like, oh, I am good at this. I do love this. Okay. And that's okay. I don't have to feel sorry. I don't have to apologize for being bossy or knowing what I want. You can communicate it, and I can communicate it in a way that's not a complete raging a-hole, right? Like the way women lead, and of course not all women, but is always going to be a little different from a masculine leadership style. Like where a 5 foot tall woman like myself is not going to be scary and listen to like some particular directors I could name coming into a situation and just people are obeying them because they're terrified. That's not my
Mhm.
favorite dynamic on set. If I'm coming in, I'm winning people over ahead of time because they believe in me, they believe in the vision, they know I'm going to take care of them, and I want their whatever they're getting out of this project, their footage, to be a delight, to lift them up, to be for their reel too. So when it becomes that collaboration and they're there because they they love you in a sense, right? Like
Mhm.
on your team, it changes the whole vibe of the set. And I kind of love that. So I've really
Yeah.
been able to embrace that. And some of it is just aging as we get into the like gear shifts of throughout various stages of womanhood or otherwise of being more comfortable in taking a leadership role. And people get to that earlier. I just
Mhm.
happen to get to it now. Uh, it it's been a really lovely chapter to realize like, yeah, I do have a lot of really wonderful stories I'd like to tell. And I'm comfortable now saying I want to tell these as opposed to just
Nice.
handing them off. There are ones which I'm happy to hand off for the payday. But
Mhm.
like I said, when you have your babies, you know you're going to raise them. So
Mhm.
the the best, because we probably just like you get a lot of those hey, I need a acting 101 or filmmaking 101 class with my new niece that just moved to town, will you take her to coffee? I get a lot of those over the years, and the recurring theme has been like, well, if you want a destination, if you're like, I need to win an Oscar by 30 or whatever it is, it's maybe not, it's not the place for you. This is
Yeah.
not a climb the ladder, get to the destination like you might be able to
Mhm.
do with other careers like teaching,
Yeah.
being a firefighter, whatever it might be. You can climb that ladder and you're going to get there. This is a jungle. You bring your own machete, you cut your way through. Nobody has the same path, but as long as you're there for the journey, then you're in the right place.
Yeah. This is a
Bring your
jungle.
own machete.
Bring
I
your
love it.
Yeah.
machete.
I love
I
it.
love that. I have a machete somewhere. I'm gonna put that out
Boom.
and say I brought my machete.
Yeah, you are carving your own path every day. And there are days, every single one of us, even the most successful creatives, are out there crying in their pillows some days, like, oh my God, what else can I do? This is torture. And then
Mm.
other days, their phone will ring and they're like, this is the best. I live my life. So it is
Right?
so much like
Yeah,
this for
so
everybody.
true.
And if you realize it's like this for everybody, when you get to the low spots, you just have to grit your teeth and hang on, or ask yourself, do I still love the journey? Am I in it for when it's going to go back up? Because it
Mhm.
will if you stay on the ride.
Yeah.
And that seems to help with our mental health in general.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
I was gonna selfishly ask like any advice specifically for Natalie and I, but I don't know. That's pretty
Yeah.
good
No.
advice.
Do you yeah.
Bring a
Is it just
machete.
bring our machete? Because I think
You
because
guys have
actually there
been
is a
cutting your own
machete in our
path for
film. So
years.
Yeah.
You
I
already
mean,
have a path behind you. If you looked behind, it's pretty epic, and there are people envious and impressed by it. So
people are
realizing that,
envious?
yes, you have to realize that
Mm.
there are people. This is the never ending story moment. Okay, I'm the childlike empress right now, and I'm like, Bastion, there have been people watching you the whole time. Like,
We were with
yes,
you in the swamp of
they
sadness.
were with you.
Thank you for framing it in ways that we can understand.
Yes,
80s movies.
they are watching you
Bastian,
now. Right
please.
now.
Bastian,
Bastion.
please.
Just like hashtag Tammy and see if she'll be in your film. She's amazing. But yeah. For you two, you are doing it right. You are carving your journey. You're building your audience. I have no doubts it'll be fan freaking tastic, because when you get to a point that you aren't as confident, you're going to ask, and somebody will help you because we adore you. And I think realizing that this is a community sport
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
is really kind of the fun of it. But yeah, I
Mm.
think your thing is just going to be giving yourself permission, realizing you are already offering a wonderful service, and all you have to do is like give people the opportunity to come along for the ride, and your funds will flow.
Phew. That's really
We're just all gonna cry here
so-
for a minute.
I know. I was like getting a little teary.
And then do tell me about this project with my husband and my kids. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a comedy.
Yes, off the air. Yes.
Teasing.
Oh, Paula, you're amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we wrap you out, would you tell the people where they can find you on the Instagrams, where they can find you on the internet, especially your films that are available out there? Tell the peoples.
Sure. So you can find me. I have my little name handle here, at Paula_Rhodes on the socials. I believe it's at Burned Movie is my most recent one for Instagram, where we have lots of BTS up there, as well as every time we're in a festival, we announce that. Our next screening will be at Comic-Con in San Diego. If you're down there,
Ooh.
very
Wait.
excited for that one. Built an audience with all of our.
You're
Uh,
in Comic-Con?
We're in the film festival at Comic-Con. which is kind of a perfect fit because we have a lot of video
out.
game actors that are our big leads in this.
That's incredible.
Yay.
It's pretty
Congratulations.
rad. I'm
Wow, that is
excited.
rad. I almost brain almost didn't quite catch the word Comic-Con. Okay.
Excited.
Congrats.
Is Delicate State available to download or
Yes,
stream?
you can stream it on all of the things, everything from Amazon to I think Tubi to Roku. I don't all of them. All of them are on there. You know,
Sweet.
I will say, if you are doing indie film, and this is maybe just side note for all the other indie filmmakers out there, mitigate expectations on financial return.
Hmm.
It is probably not going to be something where you necessarily even get your money back. Definitely not something you get rich unless maybe lightning in the bottle. But unless it's one of the areas where it's bleeding or it's Christmas, then there's a possibility that you will get your funds back. But for the most part, it is your first feature. It is your calling card and your step to the next because they tend to start creating. It's like gremlins. We'll just bring it back to that. They multiply.
You get them
Yeah.
wet or feed them after midnight. Don't do either.
So
of
get
those.
your film wet, feed it after midnight. Got it.
Bring them a
Definitely
machete.
feed people if they're there after midnight. That's
Yes.
Oh, amazing. Oh, Paula, thank you so much for coming on the show. So appreciate the interview episodes. I learned so much and I learned a ton today. So
yeah.
thank you. All right. That is a wrap on Paula Rhodes, everyone. Hooray! Yay!
Thank you, Paula.
Oh man. I'm never sad about an interview episode. Never. I love them. They're my favorite thing ever. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So that does bring us to my other favorite thing because I get to sit back and learn a thing and not spearhead anything. The Abby Singer shot. The second to last thing that we're doing, kind of technically, is a vocabulary lesson brought to you by Natalie and probably Studio Binder. Natalie, what do you got today?
Yeah. So yeah, our vocabulary of the day. Now this is getting a little technical here, and
love
it took on a life of its own. I don't.
How
it
many
doesn't
note
have
cards?
It's just one note card, but it's a whole topic because the word came up, and then I wanted to dive into the topic. So the word of the day is pan, PAN, which
Okay.
often and that's a camera
Sorry.
movement.
Yeah.
What
okay.
happened?
It's we say word of the day, and I'm
Oh.
in Pee Wee Herman mode.
Oh,
Anyways,
got it.
continue.
There you go.
Yep. Sorry. Apologies.
So pan, it's a camera movement, which most people know this, but I think what gets lost here is what's different from other ones. And because I think when
Keep
you're
track.
a new filmmaker, you often use pan for any time the camera moves, and that's just not correct. So let's break it down a little bit. Panning is from panorama. That's where the word comes from, and it'll be easy to remember from now
Oh.
on. So it's a camera movement that rotates on a fixed axis. The camera is going to rotate on a fixed axis. It's not moving. It's panning across your horizon. Okay? Right? So it's easier to remember that way now. Okay? But that's
Yeah.
not to be confused with tilt, because I think we try to use pan when we're talking about tilt. Tilt is the same thing, fixed axis, but it's moving up and down. So think about joystick, looking up, looking down. Your head is tilting, right?
Okay.
Now this is where it starts to get weird. Pedestal movement is when the camera itself is going to stay looking out over the horizon, but just move up or down, straight up or down. Now, then there's this dolly and truck, and this is the one that I don't think people really know, and they use pan because you can dolly and pan at the same time. So you need to know this. So a dolly shot is when the camera is coming straight towards you or straight at a object. It's the camera itself is moving. Its focal point is not moving. So, because you could do dolly and pan, and you're dollying forward and panning to the right. But a dolly alone is just the camera moving straight forward, giving a zoom effect, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Or backwards. It can go backwards as well. Truck, and this is the one that a lot of people don't know, is when it moves side to side. So it's the same. So trying to do
Okay,
this
I get it.
trying to do this for a podcast audience. You can't see all my
Yes.
hand movements. So the camera is not in a fixed position. Its focal point is in a fixed position in the distance. No, because it's going to move. So the camera is facing north and it's going to stay facing north. Let's just say that. And it is
Got it.
going to slide from side to side. Okay. And then, so you would be scanning. Let's do it that way. You're scanning the horizon
Your camera
without
body is
Yes.
actually gonna move. Whereas
Yes.
opposed to a pan is your camera lens
Yeah.
turns. You stay in one
Yes.
place and you turn. When you stay in one place and turn, that's your panning. If your
I advise
camera
you,
on
yes.
a wheel goes over,
I advise you to look this up on, like, Google this, because you'll get a visual of the camera itself and you can see
Mhm.
what the movement is. And this is important to know, even if you're not the cameraman, because often you're trying to have a communication and someone say, well, and we're going to pan to the right. And if you don't know this, you think that the camera's moving, or they're going to dolly, or they're going to truck, or you end up writing into your script a whip pan that is not actually a whip pan because you just used pan interchangeable for any time the camera turns.
Yes. Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that is the extent of those, because you could truck and pan, you could dolly and pan, you could truck
Yeah.
tilt pan.
But and
You
it's
could.
important. It's important because if you're saying I want a pan here, and what you actually mean is you want a dolly, you're gonna have a
Mm-hmm.
miscommunication, and the camera
Right.
guy is gonna be like, "You said pan.
You said
Why are you
pan.
making me dolly?" Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And
that
I
there's a
think we've
huge. It's important.
I think we've run into that with
Oh
people
yeah,
where we're saying pan
yeah.
for something,
Oh,
and they're
we've
like,
done this.
yeah, and cameramen are going, mm-hmm,
This
okay,
is that
and they
whole
just
we didn't go to film school part.
and they didn't bother correcting us. I'm sure we've
No.
done this to Way and to Jason.
Oh my God. So many I know in their heads are like, oh, I love these two girls so much. We're gonna pan this way. Like they
Yeah.
just let us continue on in our own blissful ignorance. Bless
Yeah.
them, bless them,
So
bless them.
yeah, I definitely recommend looking that up. Pan, tilt. Just look up the difference between pan and tilt, and it will give you
Yeah.
visuals that will help you along your way.
Love it. All right, before we close out this episode, a big thank you to all of our PayPal friends out there who have sent us funds offsite. If you want a link to go PayPal us some cash action to help us fundraise for the money, what we're talking about, to help make this movie, there's a link for you below. Also, the super chatters that are out there, thank you so much for super chatting to us directly here in our YouTube. If you aren't watching us live on YouTube, we do it live on YouTube, and the super chats come in to help us make the money, give us the money to make the movie happen. So thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. Next week, we have another interview episode. I am so excited about this one as well. We're going to be interviewing Hudson Phillips, who is a writer, producer for Guacamole Yesterdays. It's an indie film that is currently in its theatrical tour, is what's happening.
It's
So
actually available for pre-download, like starting
It
next
is.
week. Yeah,
That's
we'll cover that.
correct.
It'll
Oh, we
be
will
available
cover that. Yes.
when we have that interview. We'll be able to plug it, and you guys can go watch
we
it
will
too.
cover. And I just got to see this film recently. I highly recommend watching it. It is a wonderful watch. It is a wonderful film. It is definitely a filmmaker's film too. Like an average audience person will love this film. It's really good. But as a filmmaker too, I got so much joy out of watching it because I'm watching two people do really fun indie filmmaking at its finest. It's a fantastic watch. So highly recommend. We're gonna have Hudson on to talk all about his different fundraising experience with investing. So tune in for that as well. If you are listening to this podcast for the very first time, you just stumbled across this because you're making your own feature film, please subscribe to this adventure. Follow us on all the podcast plays. We're going to be having more content coming out as we go step by step through the process of making our first feature film. And we're going to hit on something else that you need to know. So subscribe. Also, filmmaker friends, if you want to help this podcast grow, push it out to your friends, share it with them. Even though we haven't hit on something maybe you want to know, get the word out about this because we want to broaden our reach so we can find other filmmakers to bring on to interview. We don't know who we don't know yet. So you help us by spreading the word that we're doing this thing. So please and thank you. Follow the podcast, share the podcast.
Can I sidebar for a second before we close?
Sidebar.
I had
So
this
hard.
idea. I know. I had this idea that once we're done with making Turns Out and we've made our movie and now we're not making a movie, we can keep the title and just interview people who are making their first feature films. Wouldn't that be so much fun? Like that are
That's
in
just
their
an interview.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an interview show where every week we have a new filmmaker who's in this process.
in the process somewhere
And
along
like
the way. That's okay. Subscribe. If you're in the process of making your first feature film, hang tight. and let us know you're watching, because like, hey, maybe we'll have you on the program as well.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We adore you. We love you. You're the best. We're having so much fun in this process. Today was fun. Today was fun. Some days aren't. I remind myself that we have meetings as well, and I'm like, oh, it's so hard. But thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.